All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Bill. This is the new to me 2022 two-door Bronco, and I've had it for a couple of days now, and well, I'm not going too crazy with modding things just yet, but there's a few things took out of the old Bronco that definitely I'm going to reuse. Number one is the speaker box. Number two is the DV8 storage. I believe it'll still work with the two-door like it did with the four-door. The DV8 overhead rack, I know they have a separate part number for the two-door that they do for the four-door, so I don't know. I imagine there's some differences there, so that may not work. The mollies aren't going to work. The steps will work, but I just have to cut those down, and I don't know that I necessarily need to put those on just yet. And then of course the tailgate carrier will work as well, but don't know that I need to put that on yet. Just running with the stock tires and everything for now, so I think I'll just leave OEM tailgate carrier on there for now. We'll put the speaker on here, see how it handles, and if we are getting any kind of rattles or noises, then we'll go ahead and upgrade to the turn off-road one, because I know that can handle much heavier than this tire. So yeah, so for now, just kind of putting in some things. Oh, and one more important thing is the auto start stop eliminator. I've had that since like the very beginning of the other Bronco, and I forgot. I know some people don't mind the auto start stop. I absolutely hate it, especially around here. I live in a downtown area, and the auto stop start works perfectly in timing with stop signs. Like if you stop for a stop sign, you wait for a car to go, you get ready to go your turn, it starts stopping just as you're trying to go, and it kind of gives a jerk and it feels horrible. In normal, like I am at a traffic light, it stops, I let my foot off the gas, it starts back up, I can start moving. It's perfectly fine there, but stop signs, it is the worst. I don't know, like the worst timing possible, because it's like just as soon as you get ready to go is when it's trying to cut off, and it's just the most violent, and it does not feel, I don't care what they say about how good it is on your start, or how beefy they made the starter and the engine and the gearbox and everything is meant to handle that. It just does not feel right, and I absolutely hate it. So that is something else. Get that open. It's in this bundle of wires somewhere. It's just a little jumper pack. We'll throw that in there. Make sure that's good to go as well. These floor mats aren't going to work. Plus I already got floor mats in there. But yeah, we'll see what else we get into. But for now, first things, I got to start tearing stuff apart, get access to everything. So I'm going to take this out. I'm going to take this back panel out, which it's just one big panel in the two-door, it looks like. So we'll see what all needs to come out with that. And then the front will be just like the two-door, where we got to pull the radio bezel out and everything, get back behind there. But yeah, and then the trunk is very much the same with the four-door. It's just smaller, but pull these guys up. And this one, of course, wants to give me a hard time. There we go. This pops up, and it's got little tabs on the back which go in first, and then just snaps down, and then two 10mm bolts on each hook. And just pull those out. And once all those are out, this whole thing should just kind of pop up, and it's very light and tiny compared to the four-door. Yeah, it's this tiny little panel there. And then we can take this out, which should be just 4 more 10mm bolts here. And then once those 4 screws are out, it just pops out. And here we've got a heat shield. So I know when I did the install for the replacement, some of that stuff was supposed to get pulled out, including the muffler. I'll have to relook up that, but I'll just see what can fit in there right now and then go from there. Hopefully we can just stick that in there. But yeah, if you're interested in how that installs, I got another video. I can never remember which corner. Up here? Right there? Or right up here? So check that out if you want to see the DV8 extra cargo area install. But I mean, it's pretty simple. Take that one out and throw it in there. And we'll do that. That'll clear up a little bit of extra space. Give us a little bit of extra storage. Now this one I am sad about, the Mountains Dometic attic shelf, because the way the roll bars are in the 2-door is very different than they are in the 4-door, and the way the space is, there's not any space back behind here for that to fit, so that's not going to work. So I do lose the ability to use that, which we do have these available on the site now. We have a lot of stuff from Mountains Dometic on there and being at it. So one thing I definitely do recommend, and if you're local and are interested in that, I can cut you a deal on my used one, because like I said, it's not going to work for the 2-door. But yeah, that being said, our DV8 bigger storage should fit and work. Get in underneath. Yeah, and that's why they're saying you gotta drop the muffler and everything, because you gotta give it some room to be able to push it down through there. So if you do need to drop the muffler, there's a hanger right here and one over there. Might be able to get away with just one of those. Spray some WD-40 on that and it's a lot easier to pull that hanger through. Same here. I'll try on that end, see if that's far enough to let me drop it down, and we'll see if we can't just kind of push that down through there. Alright, so had to take this shield out. It's 4 10mm bolts and then 2 Christmas trees. I see why they say you need to take the muffler down, and it's just so you can get to those 10mm bolts. I was able to actually kind of get up behind there with the electric ratchet. Without the electric ratchet, I don't know how it would have taken forever, and it would have been easier to take the muffler down, but with the electric ratchet I was able to get it up in there and get it into position. So yeah, that's just gonna sit in there like so. We get these screws started, and then we'll get everything lined up and we'll get that in. All right, so that's in and done. A little bit of extra storage space in there for some gear. Go ahead and pull this panel off, which just pulls right out. Got a couple of clips, and we'll start working this panel off from back here. I forget how, there's these little pieces on the back here. There we go. And just keep kind of unplugged back here. Disconnect for the light, and then for the 12-volt outlet. We'll go around front and work our way back towards the middle from there now. So yeah, I mean, this is all just one really big piece back here. It comes all the way to here, and that'll just pop off. Then here, pop up. All right, so now looks like there's one more plug back there, so we'll make sure we get that. disconnect it, and then up here, just make sure that this goes inside the seat belt. So now that can pull back and just disconnect back here. Not sure what that third plug's for, but we should have everything disconnected there. Let me set you down. Now this plastic is really soft and easy to scratch, so try to be careful with it. But there, now that's all gone. We have plenty of room to run our wiring back for the amp. I was looking at different subs, like different options for the sub. This doesn't have, this is obviously the lower end, the 6-speaker stereo system. It doesn't have the subwoofer. It doesn't even have the fake subwoofer in there. So I was looking at it. There are a couple of different subs that fit in there, companies that are making them. I was looking at the Gear Shade one, and then the a couple are the JL Stealth Box, and I haven't really decided on what of any of those I want to go with. But I do know, like, I liked the Stinger sub. I liked the way that sounded. I don't love having it mounted on the back of the gate tailgate, especially with the 2-door, because it's limited. It's such limited space back here in the trunk as it is. So I may end up switching and going with one of them. So if you have any of the hidden subs like the JL Audio or the Gear Shade or the LQD ones, or any others that you may know of, or just the stock speaker box with an upgraded subwoofer in there, anything that you've done that you think it is a decent amount of bass. I don't need to rattle the neighbors' windows, but I do like, you know, to be able to hear the music and it sound rounded out and good with the top off. So yeah, and I know the Stinger sub works that way, works well. So I'm going to put that on there for now, but we'll see if it gets on my nerves, then maybe we need to switch to put something else here. But for now, I'll just get the sub amp mounted back here. And I don't think I ever showed it on the other Bronco, but I had just had it mounted up against this with some screws. So yeah, let me go ahead, get up front and start pulling that stuff apart, and we can start running wiring and getting that box installed and everything and go from there. All right, so here's part of the wiring harness this is from Plug and Play Kits. I'm just reusing the same harness that I had in the other Bronco. Basically right here is your audio control unit, and there's a black plug right there. I'm gonna try to pull out, and then this will just plug in line, and then plug that back in underneath. So then we have this wire harness here, which will connect to this harness, which is wired to go to the kicker key amp there, and then run all the way back to the rear, to the bass amp in the back. And basically it just kind of says, oh hey, don't send the signal directly to the speakers, send it through here, which will go through the amp or go all the way back to the bass amp, and just kind of separates everything out. Super simple to plug and play, hence the name, I guess. But and then the auto start stop eliminator. This is the switch that goes to the back of the auto start stop button, and this just plugs in line. So I'll plug in like so. Much easier to do with 2 hands. Yeah, it just plugs in like that, and then instead of plugging this plug, you plug this plug to the back of that button, and then it'll remember whatever you pushed. So if you want to keep it with auto start stop working, push the button, it'll remember that you want it working. If you want it off, turn it off, and it'll just stay off. You don't have to remember to turn it on or off every time. So it just little jumper cable that'll goes in line and prevents you from having to do that. And these 2 plugs are just plugs that went to the air conditioning unit. Climate controls and radio controls and everything on the back of here. Yeah, the top button, the top plug is what you'll plug the auto start stop eliminator to. The other plugs all remain the same down there. And then we just need to, I do have this mountains to metal mounting clip on here, and so the amp will just sit right, there's these bars right here, it'll sit right up on top of there, and put a couple screws in and hold it tight, and it's up above your glove box. I had, like I said, I had this running in the other car, never had any issues. And it's already got threaded inserts, so just once you get the wires connected, stick it up there and put a couple screws in there, and it's good. So I'll go ahead and get all this plugged in and route it, and we'll connect everything in the back. All right, so everything is tucked back away. We got our harnesses in. I ran one more wire. This is going to be for the bass volume knob, so it connects to the amp, so you can turn the amp up or down as needed, which came in handy. So this is to get all plugged back in. The key amp, I don't know if you could see, it's tucked up under here. It's got the 2 bolts in on that bar, and it stays tucked up there. It's behind the airbag, so nothing to interfere with the airbag, kind of like below it and behind it, and it's above the glove box, so once the glove box in there, it opens and closes with no problem. I'll go ahead and get everything plugged back in, make sure the 4 speakers are working because that amp's connected. And then next I just gotta get this amp connected, which I need to run this power directly to the battery. On the 4-door, there's the channel behind the seats that pops up, so I was able to run it there. This doesn't have that, so I'm not sure how I'm going to run this. You want to run it on the opposite side of, I mean, it probably doesn't really make too much of a difference in this setup, but like ideally you want to keep the power and the signal wires away from each other to prevent interference. So maybe we got a little grommet there. Maybe I can run the power wire underneath and bring it up through here. Let's see what we got right there. Yeah, that might work. Yeah, maybe that's what we'll do. Run the power wire through there, and then the ground, I can just ground it to the amp. We've already got a ground here, so I can just reuse that ground. So yeah, I'll probably see the best way to run that underneath the Bronco, up out of the way, and then just bring it up through here, cut a slit through this, and pull the wire through there so it's nice and tight, and then can run that, and we'll get the amp and everything connected. Alright, so to install the box on the tailgate, you do have to drill a couple of holes, and I put some tape here to be careful because you don't want to go too far because you can dent or drill through the backside. So you just want to drill through this front layer. So I put some tape on there and go slow. I got the 1 rib nut in there. When you buy this speaker, it comes with the template. I don't have the template, but they do have a download where you can download it and print it out. It's obviously bigger than a piece of paper, so you have to print it out in a couple of pieces and then paste it all together, tape it all together. So being very careful here and just drilling these holes out. I already put the 1 rib nut there just to make sure the holes are the right size. But it's got here, 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 and here. So I'll go ahead and finish drilling those out. You can kind of tell when it's about to go through, and just slow it down so I don't push through there and puncture. Like I said, drill through the other side or anything. And then we get these are M6 nutsert, so, which of course I didn't have any, so I had to go to the store and get some of these sizes because I have every size except for this one. I'll just put it in the hole. There we go. Now these bottom two nuts get these brackets, and screw in there, and same over here. All right. So the box is just going to sit on there, go forward, and we put 2 bolts in through there. Before we do that, we have to pull almost didn't break them. Yeah, it's got clips on the bottom. You got to pull off carefully. Try not to pull the top, because if you pull the top, it will break those clips. Which it broke one of them, but that we can deal with. And then you just gotta have some speaker wire that's gonna run along here and plug into the back. So you can go ahead and grab the box. And go ahead and plug the wires in. There's just some spring tension there on those. And keep that wire running out. And everything should line up and sit in there. Now I'm happy about that. That looks even. When I did the last one on the other Bronco, it was a little cattywampus, and I was not happy about that. But I also wasn't so unhappy that I didn't bother. And let's tighten that up. And then put 2 screws in the bottom of those, and that'll be on there. So there, that's installed nice and tightly on there. It's got the 2 screws on the bottom and 2 bolts on the inside. Now we just gotta throw the speaker on there. Let's have some insulation that goes in there. Make sure there's nothing stuck on the magnet. Go around and get everything tightened on there. Just got to connect the amp and it should hopefully be good. I got everything here loosely wired back. I'll go ahead and get the amp connected, make sure things are working, and then we'll tuck the amp away. Alright, so we've got wire on, everything's just kind of jammed in there right now. Have the amp mounted there, and I just have some self-tapping screws screwing it to the Bronco there. Just want to make sure everything is actually working. Yeah, that's working. Let me get everything tied up and closed up then, and we should be done out here. Alright, and then one more last quick fix that I just think the Bronco needs. Doesn't come with, I don't know why, and that's the hood struts. Now, hopefully you don't need to keep your hood open all the time and working in here, but you know, it's just convenient when you do that. It just goes and you don't have to rely on this prop rod. And see, I just have one of them on right now, and it's enough to hold the top. It's a little wobbly, and I'll put the other one on. But yeah, this is one of those things where I just go for cheap and functional, just with a quick Amazon find. There's a bazillion different clones and copies and different versions of this that all essentially do the same thing, and it doesn't need to be a super fancy. It's holding the hood open. And when I first put this on, originally there was a lot of back and forth saying, oh no, you shouldn't put those on the hood. The hood's aluminum, they're going to bend, they're going to crease. I have it, it's been 4 years now that these have been coming out and people have been putting these on. I haven't seen any issues regardless of which version they put on, and it's not really one of those things where you need to put an expensive version on. So it's just one of those cheap Amazon finds. And this one, I like the way this one goes on. It's pretty simple. You got your bracket, you put your nut in, a washer, and a little locking nut on the back to get it started. There's 2 holes here, and these just kind of slip up in there like so, and you can get them locked down behind. Just put a little bit of tension on there so you can, it'll hold it back behind there in a spot where it's locked down. And you want to do it with the ball facing out. And it doesn't have to be super tight, just snug, because again, it is aluminum, but for the bottom hook, just have to take this 10mm bolt out, and you got this bracket. It's got a hook here, which will hook around the outs, around that, and then just puts that screw right back in. And then you just pop that end on, pop the other end on, and you're good. Now you can keep that in there for backup if you need it, or you can take it out. Yeah, there you go. You have hood struts. So now anytime you want to pop the hood open, pop it open, and it's open. Yeah, something that's included on almost every other vehicle, just not on the Bronco for whatever reason. But yeah, like I said, I know there's people that said that, oh, it's going to cause the hood to bend and everything. No, I haven't seen or heard of anybody having that issue. If you have had that issue or know of anybody that's had that issue, let me know. But yeah, like I said, this isn't something I sell on the site because I haven't seen a version that's like superiorly better or like the greatest deal ever. So normally you can find 100 different versions of it on Amazon for super cheap. So I would say just do that. I'll put a link down to these ones, and you'll see there's a bunch of different versions. Same with the antenna. I mean, it's an antenna. I just wanted a shorter antenna. I'll put a link to that one. It's just a short stubby antenna. You still get reception. Everything works. It doesn't need to be fancy or expensive. It just replaces that real tall, goofy looking antenna that came on there originally. But yeah, so I was out here cleaning up the dirt off the parts that I removed because they were dirty. So I'm going to finish cleaning those off and probably, yeah, I wetted down the Bronco, but I'll give it a good nice clean first cleaning. And yeah, but I think that's going to go ahead and wrap it up for this video. Just a little bit of everything, kind of first steps of making the Bronco mine, moving things over from the old Bronco, which is the extra storage from DV8, the stinger box, plug and play kit to improve the stereo, which is so much better now. I still even have the stock stereo. I haven't done anything with ForScan. People swear by the ForScan changes. I've done them. I did them. I think it does make a difference, but not as big a difference as I've heard some people claim it is. But I'll go ahead, hook up ForScan and do that stuff too. Maybe I'll notice a big difference now. Just getting it kind of back to where it feels like my Bronco. The sound system doesn't sound terrible. We got the hood struts on there. Put some door sill protectors on there. Again, just another cheap Amazon thing. I'll put a link to those down below. Just because I did notice there was some scuff and where it looked like the clear coat was wearing down there. So I mean, especially without the other steps, people are going to step on that on both sides. So go ahead and put some protection down, protect the clear coat, keep the paint from wearing off there. But yeah, that's pretty much it for now. The Bronco's slowly becoming my Bronco and not just a brand new Bronco. Next weekend we got some people coming together, go out to Interlake, so we'll get some trail runs and see how that looks, see how it handles. Like I said, it's stock format. I drove my Bronco. We're going out to Interlake, which is the first place I took my Bronco when I got it, before I made any changes, and realized that it was too low to the ground because it was scraping on the bottom. So we'll find out if Sasquatch is enough of a lift, or are we gonna feel we need to do a bigger lift other than this. So we'll see how the Sasquatch two-door handles it, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned if you're interested to see that. If you wanted to see more videos like this in the future, hit the subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.